Hello, my name is Sully Heywood, and I'm looking forward to being a PhD Fellow at the Koch University Research Centre for Anatolian Civilizations during the 2026 to 2027 academic year. I'm an archaeobotanist and a PhD candidate at the University of Queensland in Brisbane, Australia, and a researcher at the Japanese Institute of Anatolian Archaeology in Koshia Province. I did my undergraduate degree in archaeology at the University of Queensland. I followed this with an honours thesis in which I worked on reconstructing the agricultural economy from the late Bronze Age site of Luangzhigangxi in northwestern China. I began working on excavations in Anatolia in 2018 and have participated at multiple excavation seasons, most recently having worked as an archaeobotanical researcher at the sites of Kamenkalahoyuk, Buklukale and Yasahoyuk since 2022. During my time at ANAMED, I will analyse archaeobotanical samples from these sites and work on writing my PhD thesis, preliminarily titled Agricultural Adaptation and Settlement Resilience during the Mid to Late Holocene Transition in Central Anatolia, Turkey. My project will attempt to reconstruct the agricultural systems and socio-ecological interactions of Central Anatolian communities, as well as their reactions and adaptations to a hypothesized extreme climatic event that occurred during the late 3rd millennium BC. This is often referred to as the 4.2 Ka BP event, and is recognized through multiple global climatic proxies as likely resulting in severe climatic unpredictability and multi-centennial drought. This period is often discussed and debated in both popular and academic writings as a period of societal collapse and crisis, and this has been well explored archaeologically in Mesopotamia, Egypt, the Levant, and more recently in Western Anatolia. It is during this time that there were dramatic contractions in settlement abundance and size across the eastern Mediterranean, and there was turmoil in the Akkadian Empire, Old Kingdom Egypt, and the city-states of the Levant. However, recent research has recognized not only the differential regional effects of this climatic event, but also the unique adaptations of communities outside what are often early examples of centralized and imperial political and economic systems. The effects this climate event had on the smaller and often decentralized settlements of early Bronze Age Central Anatolia are comparatively poorly understood. When traders arrived in the region in the early 2nd millennium, they recorded polities that were urban and maintained distinct local traditions, with robust administrations that controlled the surrounding areas. We know from the archaeological record that this wasn't a seamless development, with often repeated burning events being a common feature of early Bronze Age stratums at most Central Anatolian sites. However, the polities and later imperial states that came to dominate Central Anatolia during the Middle Bronze Age show clear control of agricultural production, with storage of grain reaching monumental proportions at both Kamenkalahoyuk and other sites in the region. The shifts in agricultural regime and broader conditions can be effectively identified through the lens of plant macrofossils that are deposited in archaeological strata and typically preserved through charring and mineralization. Over the course of the academic year, I will undertake extensive plant macrofossil analysis on archaeobotanical flotation samples from the sites of Kamenkalahoyuk, Buklukale and Yasahoyuk using the facilities and modern botanical reference material housed at the ANAMED Paleoenvironmental Lab. The samples for this project have been systematically sampled and processed from the study sites using mechanical flotation by myself and other researchers over the past 30 years. This has resulted in one of the largest archaeobotanical archives in Anatolia, with extremely high stratigraphic resolution across the early Bronze Age in particular. My primary method to identify past agricultural shifts and climatic adaptations will be through taxonomic and compositional analysis of archaeobotanical samples. This will be supported by the analysis of carbon and nitrogen stable isotope values from cereal crops to identify past watering and manuring levels, as well as the application of functional ecology models on the associated weed flora to determine the intensity of agricultural management. My early results primarily come from the site of Kamenkalahoyuk and show that the early Bronze Age in Central Anatolia during this time had a complex and diverse agricultural system, utilizing primarily hulled barley, but also the comparatively water-demanding bread wheat as the primary cereal crops. However, in contrast to later periods, there is also a heightened use of domestic legumes, such as bitter vetch, lentils, grass pea, and fava bean. A clear spike in the abundance of the highly drought-resistant bitter vetch is a trend mirrored in Western Anatolia and sites in the Levant and may indicate broader reactions to the shifting climatic conditions. Significantly, the archaeobotanical data from early Bronze Age Kamenkalahoyuk indicates a broader spectrum of likely economic taxa, and this includes exotic types that largely disappear from the archaeological record at the site until much later. Central Anatolia was well positioned to participate in mercantile networks between the Aegean and Mesopotamia, and it is likely that the decentralized and more dynamic nature of their agricultural and plant cultivation systems during this period potentially led to the adoption of a broader spectrum of exotica when compared to the later periods. Large-scale plant macrofossil research is a very slow analytical process and requires extended periods of laboratory time, with comparative botanical material. As all the analysis for my project must be done within Turkey, this fellowship will provide the perfect extension for completing the bulk of my laboratory work. I'm really looking forward to meeting and working alongside everyone over the next 9 months in Istanbul. Thank you.